Hello, my name is Christoff, Professional Development Director for Pasco County Schools. The purpose of this video is to try to give some understanding to the deliberate practice for the 2015-2016 school year. Over the past few years, the feedback we received is that it was hard for teachers to choose deliberate practice starting with all 41 elements from Domain 1. Reaching out to our partners at Learning Sciences International, we have asked and prioritized 8 focus elements that will make up deliberate practice for this school year. Let's start by reviewing the prioritized focus DP elements for classroom teachers. We start in DQ1, Design Question 1, with element number 1, providing rigorous learning goals and performance scales. Then we move to Design Question 2, helping students interact with new knowledge. Element 6, identifying critical content. Element 11, helping students elaborate on new content, and Element 12, helping students record and represent knowledge. Then we move to DQ3, Element 17, helping students examine similarities and differences, Element 18, helping students examine their reasoning, and Element 20, helping students revise knowledge. And finally, we move to Design Question 4, Element 22, engaging students in cognitively complex tasks involving hypothesis generation and testing. Throughout this video, I will use the phrase DQ4 event. This pertains to any time we create cognitively complex tasks for kids to engage in, specifically at the Design Question 4 level. So no matter what content you're working with, or if you're an IDE school, DQ4 event refers to that level of instruction. The one thing to understand about deliberate practice this year is that those 8 elements should never be considered standing alone. What I mean by that, if a teacher picks element number 6, identifying critical content, as their deliberate practice, that deliberate practice should be, how do I use identifying critical content to get students to move deeper into DQ3 and 4? So where we shouldn't be focusing deliberate practice is elements in isolation. For example, if you pick element number 6, identifying critical content, it would not be appropriate to practice that element by using several different strategies over and over again. Instead, you will practice that element to try to get kids to deeper learning by combining that with other elements to sequence the learning for students. To provide even more clarity and show the linkage between deliberate practice, a teacher's lesson planning, and professional learning communities, let's look at that process for a while. This year, you will be hearing information either from your administrators or from your colleagues on the focus of our work in professional learning communities this year. We will be de-emphasizing question number 3 and moving to questions number 1, 2, 4, and 5. Remember, question 1 asks PLCs, what do we want students to learn? What this really means is agreeing upon the standards, the scale we will either adapt or create. Question number 2, what common formative assessments will we use, including what will be our DQ4 event, Design Question 4 event. Question number 4, how we respond when some students do not learn, and question number 5, how we respond when some students already know the information. By de-emphasizing question number 3, how we design these learning experiences for students, we are hoping that PLCs have enough time to engage in questions 1, 2, 4, and 5 and have the appropriate data to truly answer questions 4 and 5. Now let's go back to deliberate practice. Let's say a professional learning community has addressed the content that they want to teach, answering driving question number 1, has created a scale or found a scale in the OTL learning network, created the assessments including the DQ4 event or culminating activity. Now it's time to design the lesson. Looking at deliberate practice, again, if I've chosen one of those elements should be looked at as, how does this element get my students to that DQ4 event that I have already created? In a sense, you are backward designing. You're agreeing on the standard, you are deciding what the assessments are, including the DQ4 assessment, and now you are planning for students to get to that event. With the knowledge of the standards, the assessments, and the DQ4 event, you can now intentionally practice those elements that you've chosen, or that element you've chosen, to make sure you're giving the kids the experiences they need to adequately address the rigor of the standards and adequately address whatever the DQ4 event is that you have planned for them within your PLC. In addition to the prioritized elements for classroom-based teachers, we have also prioritized elements for non-classroom support personnel. Those elements are as follows. Element number 1, providing clear goals and scales. Element number 4, identifying critical content. Element number 7, elaborating on new information. And element number 8, recording and representing knowledge. These elements are combined together, again, to make sure that learning is the center of our framework. In summary, our goal for this year was twofold. Number 1, to try to make deliberate practice a more deliberate and focused practice plan. 2 was to try to create experiences for students to deepen their learning and make sure that the DQ4 event matches the rigor of the standard. Hopefully this process will get us on our way to providing high-impact instruction for our students. Have a great year.